Alli camps, and my son, I have two children. My son Nate is 12 years old, and when he was 3 years old, he did the normal pediatrician type of, eye exam, and they said, he needs to go and, I think he needs glasses. So we went to a few different pediatric eye doctors, and we settled on one, and, did the evaluation, and the doctor said, he has double lazy eye. His only limitation in life is he's never going to fly an airplane. And when you're a 3-year-old, you don't think that they're ever going to fly an airplane. So you go on with life. He learned how to read fine, all of that. He was always a little uncoordinated with sports and kind of strayed away from sports. And we happened to actually be neighbors with Dr. Applebaum, and I guess one day I was talking about his golf game. My son really got into golf, and he, and how he doesn't seem to have a lot of hand-eye coordination. He's getting frustrated. And Dr. Applebaum said, I'm saying this as a doctor, not as a friend. I've noticed that. I've noticed that his eyes don't track. Would you come in and just give it a try with, with vision therapy? And at that point, I guess my son was maybe 9, and, it's hard to convince a 9-year-old, but I convinced him to come in, and it was as if he was coming to play video games. I mean, he had the best time on this virtual reality stuff, and his golf game started getting better, and he seemed to you could see his confidence, getting better, just being a lot more confident. And there was just so much I didn't even realize that the reason when he was young, when he played soccer or basketball, the ball coming at him, he didn't see it coming straight on, he didn't know where to go, so he just ducked. There was and that kind of lowered his confidence, so therefore he never wanted to be on the street playing games with the kids or going and, doing little soccer leagues and things like that. And, it was just amazing, the transformation that I saw that I didn't even know was possible. I didn't even know that there was a such thing as vision therapy. I just thought you have glasses, you don't have glasses. I wore glasses my whole life, and it was what it was. And it was just so amazing to see such a change in even a short period of time from this fun that my son was having. So I was just so pleased and amazed that, that all this occurred. And, kind of going back to the, the pilot thing, he was 3, now he's 12, obsessed with flying, obsessed with airplanes. Went to a camp this summer, flew an airplane. Before he, that, and I was like, thank God this is something, thank God that Dr. Applebaum saw this, and thank God I took a chance on it, and thank God my son, was willing to accept the help because it was something we didn't even know was, possible. And I had said to Dr. Applebaum, I said, so, obviously my son's only 12, but let's say he's going to join the, the Air Force tomorrow. Would he pass the vision test? And he said yes. And I was like, enough said. He would say that he had a fun time doing it. Sometimes he would say, after a long day of school, I didn't want to come and do it. But he would say that it was fun, that he was, it was I don't think he would say the word play-based, but it was like he was sitting here having to read charts. He was doing all these fun games, and, they gave him homework to do at home, and sometimes he didn't, sometimes he didn't, but I feel like he felt like he could take control of it. It wasn't something that I was controlling. I was telling him to do. He was proud of what happened. I think he has gotten very into golf, and the fact is that, that his golf game has gotten better. So I think that he, would attribute it to that. I just wish that I knew that there was this type of thing as vision therapy. I think that, it's such a specialty, and that I think, I was never even knew about it. All I knew about was wearing glasses, that he could have had eye surgery for having a lazy eye, but nothing else. And that I shouldn't have settled when they said, he has he doesn't have any depth perception, he'll never fly an airplane. But I think looking back, I should have looked deeper. And he has found his sport, but it was very hard as a young boy to not be into these little sports, because that's how boys would interact. And I think it was often hard for him to interact with the kids in the neighborhood or at recess and things like that, because that's what boys do. They go and they play outside, they run around, they kick the ball, and he was not involved in that. So I think it really played, it really kind of hurt his confidence at times. And I wish I would have known, because I'm not going to say if I'd done it he'd become like, the next soccer star, but I think his confidence would have been a little bit better. And, and it may have also helped with some of his, ADHD and things like that. I never really spoke to his teachers about it. He also, kind of a little background about him, he has ADHD. And I think that, looking back before we did the vision therapy, I would talk to his teachers about, often he gets, he'll get tired, he'll need a break. He's gonna say often he needs to go to the bathroom, even though he doesn't, because he needs a mental break. And I'm wondering now, everything plays into each other, and I'm wondering now if we had done the vision therapy earlier on, if it wouldn't have been the same. Like if he would have been able to kind of focus a little bit longer and not need to take the breaks, or, and even looking back to preschool, he had no body awareness. He, a kid would be building a tower here and Nate would just kind of walk through it. No clue. Didn't want to knock down the kid's tower, but didn't even realize what he was doing. And I'm wondering if it all kind of plays into each other. So, looking back, I think I would have had to talk to his teachers, but I have never specifically talked to his teachers about this. What's funny you say, because I was on, the school I work at previous to COVID was a co-op. So there's always a parent in the classroom. And there's a little boy in my class he was in my class, who wore glasses. The mom would often say that he would, he would play soccer, but he'd run away from it, and he often was just wanting to then go play by himself because things were just frustrating, and that he, she just saw something odd. And I said, I'm saying to you this as a parent, not as, a professional, but that you should come and see Dr. Applebaum. That it was just amazing. I told her the same story I told you, how it's just not something I even realized. And she said, wow, because all the things she was telling me, I was like, I see that, in your son. And she was just so happy that I had, be able to share my story. And I often with my students share my own story, because you have to, kind of be a little, careful of what you recommend, being that that's not something I could obviously diagnose, but Dr. Applebaum is definitely on my list of providers that I suggest to parents when, they're having certain, difficulties, or if I'm noticing things, in the classroom and things like that, to kind of check it out and see. Don't ever settle for any. I wish I hadn't settled. Don't ever settle for anything that if you feel in your heart of hearts that something can change, or that it's not quite right, always look deeper. Always look deeper. I would say it's never too late, because I really thought that there's no way that I'm going to be able to convince my son to, to go and do something like this after school. And I think that it's never too late to do anything, and that the change was, was so amazing and so quick, and it just, the things that you didn't even think would affect your life, it did. And if you have a young child, I'm a teacher myself, so I feel like the second you think something is a little off, you get it checked out. The worst thing that can happen is that there is not necessarily something wrong, or, the worst thing that can happen is that it only makes a small change. But I would recommend it to anybody. I'm just so pleased. Everyone wants to see their children succeed, and you want to feel successful yourself, so there's no need for frustration.